Hi, everyone. So today I want to share with you some of the most important improvements we brought in Advanced Installer in 2023. Some of you probably already discovered them, but we know that not everybody is upgrading at the same time and is using our latest version. So for some of you, these features will be new, and I encourage you to explore them depending on your needs. This includes updates and new functionality for improvements aimed both at the developers and IT professionals, depending on your use cases. Some are particular for a certain user group, while others, like the changes for digital signing, are useful for everyone. So if you are a new user, you might be aware that we release a new version almost every month. You can check our full release history on our download page on AppInstaller.com, and you'll see this has been our practice for many years now. This fast release cycle allows us to quickly deliver improvements and adapt to any feedback that you share with us. And now I'm just going to jump into some of the updates that we've included. As you can see, there have been many changes done by our colleagues in the development team. Our Visual Studio extension is the most important integration from our toolset. We constantly improve and fine-tune it based on the feedback received from you. So it only takes you about 5 minutes to just open an email and send us your feedback on how it's going for you, how useful it is, what problems and what scenarios you would like to see us improve in it. Just email us at support@advancedinstaller.com and tell us how that works for you. Our support team is in the same building, actually on the same floor with our development team, and they are constantly exchanging information about how to make Advanced Installer better. In 2023, the most important update to our Visual Studio integration is the support for native AOT projects. It enables you to easily package native AOT applications via our existing setup project, and also allows you to benefit from all the existing integration that Advanced Installer has with Azure DevOps and GitHub Actions. You can find an article and a detailed demo on this on our website. The same you will find for the custom actions. For that, I'm going to talk a little bit more now. Basically, for most of the features that I'm talking now, you can find articles and in our user guide or on our blog with details and examples in our videos. So as I said, we also tweaked around the support for .NET custom actions. Some of you have been asking us for a better support to write C# custom actions. And with the increasing adoption of .NET as a cross-platform solutions for building new application, this requirement started coming more and more often to us. And basically, it allows us to eliminate the requirement for .NET Framework as a prerequisite just to run your DLL custom actions. Because up until last year, you could write .NET custom actions only using the DDF framework, and that was working in .NET Framework, not .NET Core or .NET as it is called now for cross-platform code. So now with Advanced Installer, it doesn't matter which framework do you use to write your custom actions. All you have to do is to install our Visual Studio extension for Advanced Installer. And after you install the Advanced Installer Visual Studio extension, you'll see some project templates created by this extension. Some of them you already know are the project templates for creating a setup project, but you'll also find 2 templates for creating custom actions in C#, targeting either .NET Framework or .NET for cross-platform custom actions. And this way you will be able to write your custom actions and access the session object of your installer, so you can interact with the installation experience as you would expect without adding additional dependencies in your installer package. We already started receiving feedback, and I think we also released some improvements last month on this support. So jump on it and tell us what you need more and how we can improve it. Another important investment we continue growing in 2023 is our support for Windows UI. As you probably noticed, we are gradually adopting Windows UI for Advanced Installer user interface itself. But most importantly, we are growing the WinUI support for the installer dialogues. And we know this is very important for our developers audience, which package and publish their applications on their website mostly. And you want to create a native experience as smooth as pleasant as possible for your end users. So our new support for MSI embedded UI allows you to customize the installation dialog without packaging your application as an exe. Maybe you have already noticed that our own MSI for Advanced Installer is using now the AppInstaller Theme, which you see now in my screenshot. So all you have to do is to go to Themes page in Advanced Installer, select the AppInstaller theme, set it as current, and then you can choose theme configurations, other theme configurations for your application. So with the WinUI, you can specify SVG resources, animated transitions, XAML controls, and other UI customizations that you want to implement, and all within a framework that you are probably already aware of, because it's not something dedicated to installer technology as it was the case until now. For other existing themes in Advanced Installer, we've also included a support to customize the frame at a much higher level. So instead of using just basic template images and background images, and those were limited to certain configurations, now you can basically use RGB codes and additional options to customize the frame, including inheriting the system color of your application for those for the themes that support that, like Azure, Graphite Light, and I think Air too. Now let's get to something which is much more important, probably one of the biggest changes of 2023 when it comes to application development and application packaging itself, not just development. So at the beginning of 2023, we renewed our own digital certificate, the one that we used to sign Advanced Installer, and that gave us the chance to evaluate new options we had to adopt the new requirements for managing digital certificates. And if you didn't heard by now, starting on June 1st, 2023, industry standards will require you to use to store private keys for standard codes and signing certificates on hardware certified at FIPS 140 level 2 or equivalent. According to industry partners, this change will strengthen private key protection for code signing certificate and align it with the extended validation code signing private key protection. EV code signing has been known to provide you with enhanced protection and instant reputation with smart screen systems, so you don't get this nagging screen that you see now in my on my deck. But the certificate we ended up using was one which is not an EV code signing certificate because it wasn't available, but also because the one we use is from Azure Code Signing Services. And according to Microsoft, even if it's a standard code signing certificate, the fact that it's provided by the Azure Code Signing Services grants it a level of trust inside the operating system, similar with the one of an EV certificate. The service, the Azure Code Signing Service, is currently in preview, and you can sign up for it. You just have to go to Microsoft and email them or sign up their forms. I don't know which state is their current their portal for this service, and we don't have a fixed date for the general availability release, but from what I've heard, more and more people are using it, and we've been using it for over 11 months now without any problem, and we're very happy with it so far. So as I said, the certificate is not an EV one, but it grants you almost the same level of trust with the OS as an EV certificate, and this means our files were never flagged by Smart Screen when we released the new installer. And it's very important because 2 years ago, when our previous certificate expired and we bought a normal certificate, Smart Screen Filter roasted our installer for a few months, even if we had hundreds of thousands of users, and we were on almost for publishing Advanced Installer for almost 2 decades now online. So it took it 2 to 3 months to revalidate it and trust it as an installer before flagging it to our users. And this was not something that we were willing to experience again. But if you don't like Azure, that's not your only option. In our user guide, we also explain how you can configure Advanced Installer to sign your package using certificates stored on DigiCert, Keylogger, YubiKey solutions, and others. So depending on the popularity, we will extend these documentations and further updates inside Advanced Installer. Since this is almost a little bit over half a year now since the announcement was made and the requirement for storing the certificates on this type of hardware has been released, not everybody got a chance to renew them. So we expect that in the next 2 years, there will be a full transition towards certificates stored either in cloud certified hardware or on private keys like dedicated flash drives like the one you get from YubiKey and others. We chose to go with the cloud solutions because we didn't want our build machines to be dependent on the physical flash drive, and that might be useful for yours too. And also the cloud management portal from Azure Code Signing allows us to easily define access management rules for our team members, and we can also revoke a certificate used to sign a package if we ever need to. We plan further improvements on this based on the feedback we receive from you, and we'll probably get back to you on a more bigger update on this somewhere in the summer. Another big investment was the one that we made in our support for prerequisites. The prerequisite engine from Advanced Installer was started almost 20 years ago, like I think in the first or second year after we started building Advanced Installer, because we needed to install Windows Installer 4.5 on older machines and other dependencies required by our users. And over time, that got expanded to support a lot more scenarios, but every now and then we had to accept design limitations simply because we were expanding our prerequisite support on an old architectures. It wasn't an easy decision to make, but we decided to invest a lot of resources to rewrite the core engine for prerequisite management. And this allowed us to simplify the prerequisites management inside the project file with a unified UI to include additional features like the capability to roll back a prerequisite that has already been installed if other packages from your main setup fail, and to schedule script execution before and after each of the prerequisites from your package. And the prerequisite support from Advanced Installer is one of the most used features, so we expect further improvements here to land as we gather more feedback from you and after we finish some of our plans that we already have now for 2024. If you already had prerequisites in all the project, you might get used to it. Advanced Installer will simply upgrade the project the moment you install a new version and will convert those old prerequisites to the new format in this one without any changes to your package, to the final user experience. Unless you have a very, very old package, in which case you will notice that there have been some changes in the user experience, but those probably are packages older than 5 years or so, so we don't see the case like that. It's always best to upgrade your versions of Advanced Installer at least once a year to make it easier to maintain the compatibility between versions and simplify your testing. And since I also mentioned testing, let's have a look at one of our latest integrations with Windows Sandbox. To quote Microsoft, Windows Sandbox provides a lightweight desktop environment to safely run application in isolation without a hassle of using a large VM that eats up your machine resources. So some of you might have already very powerful machines and resource consumption is not really a problem when you port on a VM, but that's not the case for everyone. And even if it's the case, you still want to move faster if you can. And this is handy. Using Windows Sandbox is handy when you need to quickly test a new package you are working on or a certain configuration from that package. This new integration within Advanced Installer has two major entry points. First, the repackager can now manage your Windows Sandbox environment just as we do with VMs in VMware or Hyper-V or Docker containers. This simplifies and speeds up the repackaging operation you want to execute, especially for cases where you just want to have a look inside a package, but not actually do a full-blown repackaging operation, or just want to test a small application to see how it's behaving if you package it as an MSIX. And the second part of our integration is directly with our project editor. And once you have finished repackaging or creating a package from scratch, you have the option to launch a package you created with Advanced Installer directly in Windows Sandbox. So we know that your development or packaging machine is not always the environment where you want to perform your complete suite test for a package, but we believe that preliminary test and troubleshooting scenarios on Windows Sandbox help you avoid headaches and save you precious time instead of testing the packages directly on your machine and accidentally corrupting some registry or files from the machine, or just always bouncing back and forward with a virtual machine. And because I mentioned the MSIX, I'm going to go back a little bit on the digital signing side, because I forgot to highlight one important thing here, and especially for packaging teams that are evaluating migrating to MSIX in some of their packaging projects. And here I know that digital signing is a big topic for you, because up until the moment MSIX appeared, this was not a requirement. But now you have to sign your MSIX packages if you plan to build one. And with services like Azure Code Signing or Registered Keylocker, managing access management inside your packaging team should be a lot easier than just using a sharing and managing access to a PFX file or certificate stored on some physical device internally in your company. Because I know this was one of the main things, how do you manage the workflow of signing the packages once they're ready for deployment to the customers. We also have some articles on our user guide on how to re-sign and update packages, because you might be in cases where you sign the packages internally with your test certificate, and then when they are ready for deployment to the customer site, you need to sign them with the customer certificate, or the customer needs to re-sign them. And we have a free tool, MSIX Tweaker, that allows you to automate this signing process, because you also need to update some information in the package manifest once you want to re-sign or update the certificate that is used to sign the package. So for that, just search our website for MSIX Tweaker and MSIX package digital signing. And if you can't find it, just email us at support, and we'll follow up with more details on that topic. Other MSIX improvements in 2023 was, for us, one of the main focuses was the migration to AppV, because end of life for AppV, it's getting closer. It's 2 years now, I think, in 2026. I haven't seen any updates from Microsoft on this topic, so we don't know what to expect after it. But some of you have already started working on this, while others are still looking for a way to prolong their AppV deployment for as long as possible, or to search for working on a different project which doesn't involve AppV. So we know that MSIX is not offering all the flexibility that you had with AppV, just as you, we hope that Microsoft will address these limitations and improve on your feedback as soon as possible. But until then, there are some areas where we can already add value, and where here I'm talking about the conversion process and certain package level capabilities that we can extend using our custom fork of the package support framework. And for those of you that are new and don't know what the package support framework is, this is an open source project released by Microsoft that allows you to fix compatibility issues for older applications that you're trying to package as MSIX, or to extend the functionality of the MSIX container with features that are not natively available in MSIX. One example of extension is our new support for shortcuts for files outside of your package. This is something you have been using probably for over a decade now in AppV. And we actually had to rewrite this because our first implementation was not as powerful as you were expected. So instead of accepting the architectural limitations from our first implementation, we decided to rebuild it from scratch. It took us a little longer, but now you can add a new entry point in your application in the install menu to a file outside of the package. For example, let's say you want to launch a shortcut to edge.exe and point it to some files from your website, from your company website, or from something from the package. Now you can add that entry in the start menu with just a click if you go to Application Details view in Advanced Installer. You don't need to write any scripts or manually configure PSF. This is done behind the scenes by us. All you have to do is to configure the information in our user interface, as you have gotten used to it so far. And these are things that are currently either not possible to be done with the packaging tool from Microsoft, or require a lot of scripts and hard work from your side. In the end, it's entirely your choice when deciding what's more valuable. If you have a lot of time on your tool and don't have the budget to spend on a license like Advanced Installer, then you can go that route. But we always know that investing in a license has paid off dividends for our customers. The more feedback we get from you, it helps us simplify your transition to AppV. So just let us know what your problem is, and we'll focus on solving them while improving the MSIX support. Just email us at support@advancedinstaller.com, as I said. These are some of the major technical improvements. If you look at our downloads page in version history, you can find more information about other improvements for Advanced Installer. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about some of our licensing updates. It's probably our biggest update in the last 20 years since we launched Advanced Installer. A few months ago, it was actually our 20 years anniversary of the companies. And for those of you that have been our users for a long time, you know we don't change our prices often. We've just increased them based on the value we've added and the opportunities that we've delivered to our customers. Our focus will be always to provide the best value for your investment, and this is why we decided to launch a new pricing model to offer better pricing terms for teams that need multiple users to work with Advanced Installer without being blocked by the restriction of our old floating license, which some of you might know because you've used it in the past. And now those floating licenses are no longer available. If you have a floating license, you can continue using it, or you can upgrade it to a team subscription, which gives you access to 5 users at the same time instead of one individual user, but actually multiple users, but only one at the same time. So the limitation of synchronization is no longer imposed in a team subscription at the moment, and the pricing is much more affordable. The team subscription allows you to save between 25 to 50% from the licensing cost compared to purchasing individual subscription, and it also simplifies user access management through the My Account portal that you can find on account.advancedinstaller.com, and ensures that your team is always compliant with our licensing term, because this is a question that we often see over our support channel. The team subscription also allows you to easily allocate a license slot to your build machine without worrying about breaching this license agreement that I said. Towards the end of 2023, we also decided to launch per-user subscriptions with more affordable pricing than our old perpetual subscriptions. And at the moment, the main difference between the yearly subscriptions and perpetual licenses, because we still offer both of them in parallel, is the possibility to optimize your spending budget. Old users of our perpetual licenses can still extend their maintenance plan as long as they want to, or can continue using those old licenses without updating their version of Advanced Installer, depending on their needs. But if you want to upgrade to a different subscription level or something that's not available in My Account, just email our support team at advancedinstaller.com, support@advancedinstaller.com. We've seen a strong adoption for these new licensing options, so We believe we've made the right choice, and we promise to continue investing our resources into Advanced Star for at least another 20 years. These are, as I said, the top highlights of 2023. Digital signing is the updates in the digital signing areas are probably the one that will impact most of you, especially now that it also gives a much easier way for IT professionals to manage there, but also for developers that need to update their protocols around access management on code signing authorities, and also how they manage their pipelines and access to those code signing services going forward. We have some major upgrades planned here for this year for 2024, so stay tuned for this. Probably we'll also have a webinar after those updates are released. The others, as I mentioned, cover a wide area in Advanced Installer. Other plans on top of the digital signing improvements are, of course, around PowerShell improvements, because more automation never hurts, and expanding our installation UI framework for developer users that just need more variations and more themes to match the current standard UI standards from a design standpoint, without having to actually build your own teams from scratch. Another exciting tool that we are working on is a tool we're preparing for IT professionals. And this tool will allow you to manage multiple packages at the same time, no matter if those packages are built with Advanced Installer, downloaded already from the vendor side, or built with other tools, other authoring tools. So this tool will allow us to heavily extend our integration for Intune and SCCM, which we currently have in Advanced Installer, but is quite limited. And it also make a better user experience for integrating with PowerShell App Deployment Toolkit to simplify your deployment and speed up your configuration of the packages. And of course, we'll include an application catalog that will allow you to manage your applications, private or public applications in one place, and configure updates and basically anything that you want around the application lifecycle for deployment of those applications inside your company. And to hone your skills on packaging and deploying, we're planning to release, it's almost done. We'll be releasing a new book called Advanced Techniques in MSI Packaging this quarter, probably next month. And this book it's a follow-up on one of our books. Probably, I think it's the first book on MSI packaging we wrote that will help you go dive deeper into what it means to create a solid MSI package, and basically learn from the experience that some of our colleagues have gathered in the past 20 plus years in the industry. It will be coming as a form of text articles, probably a PDF or EPUB, and a set of videos that you can use as a summary or as an additional support for some of the materials from the book. And you can find other materials on our website. Here we have some tools that can help you improve the quality of your packages. And if you have more questions, just reach out to us wherever you prefer, on Twitter, on email, on forums. Now let's see what questions we have for today in the webinar. First question from Krunoslav Kanjun. Do you plan to add an extension to JetBrains Rider? Not at the moment. So we had an integration with JetBrains IntelliJ IDM, and that was very rarely used from our experience, most likely because JetBrains provides some built-in support for building the packages. I would assume I'm not very familiar with the JetBrains toolset. For JetBrains Riders, I don't remember seeing any recent requests from our users, but I encourage you to email us at support@advancedinstaller.com so we can file your request and monitor to see if other users are interested in this integration. And if you can have examples or more details about what would you like to see in this extension, that would be also helpful for us. Thank you. Another question: when I try to install a software I built with Advanced Installer, the client machine shows can trust this app, which scares the client. Is there a solution? Which I assume it says that it cannot trust this app, or from an anonymous attendee. And the file is signed with a certified with a valid certificate. So this can be multiple things. If I understand correctly the question, it can also be the fact. The same scenario that we encountered 2 years ago, where we signed the application with a code signing certificate. It was a valid code signing certificate, but it was not an EV code signing certificate. That's a little bit more expensive, a few $100s more, and a little bit more headaches to buy it. But now you don't need to do that. You just can go and sign up for an Azure code signing service or DigiCert Keylogger service, which should give you the same level of trust as your current certificate. As an EV certificate, and that should solve the problem of the smart screen filter, if that's the problem. If not, I see there's another case here that my colleagues addressed in the chat. Follow up on that article and see more details on that one. Another message, which is actually another question from Regis: the Sandbox does not support one of my prerequisites. We'll have to follow up over email on that. There might be some limitation from Windows Sandbox, which we cannot overcome, of course. We can only integrate with whatever the Sandbox supports inside of it to install. Do you support Sektoki Certificate Manager? At the moment, we don't support that one. I don't know if we got the request for this manager up until today. I haven't seen anything. So as I said earlier, please email us at support@advancedinstaller.com and tell us which is your preferred certificate vendor, if they have a cloud solution for providing certificates in the future, and we'll manage all of those. We'll keep a record of all of those and see how which one we can prioritize in the due time. So as an additional information here, if we don't have a dedicated integration in Advanced Installer, you can still use basically almost any tool provide any certificate manager, because those certificate vendors will provide you with their own, usually provide you with their own tool, command line tool to use the certificate. If it's not sign tool, they have a wrapper over sign tool with some command lines, and you can specify that wrapper in Advanced Installer as a custom signing tool. In digital signature page, just switch from the option from built-in signing to custom tool and specify your exe and the command line you want to be used, and Advanced Installer will just use that one going forward in your projects. So you can use basically any certificate issued by any vendor. You just don't have a dedicated UI to make the integration a little less without headaches. Question from Stefan Reidiger: do you have some hints from reusing dialog scripts and custom action across multiple projects? So for dialogues, we have a dialogues repository, which you can save. As long as you are using the same theme on your projects, you should be able to save a dialogue in the repository. Advanced Installer will export that similar to the way we have our templates dialog for the predefined dialog, so it shouldn't keep it tied to your existing project. And whereas for custom actions, I don't see here what's the problem, because if you write a DLL or a script, you can just add that script as a custom action or DLL as a custom action in as many projects as you want. So I don't understand what exactly the limitation you're reusing that project, those custom actions in multiple projects. So if you have a more specific scenario, follow up over email with that, and we'll see how you use it. Usually the problem we see with people reusing projects, work from projects they've done, was that they have two similar or multiple similar application in-house, where like 20% of them is different. They build the AIP project for one of the application, and then they copy paste the project for the other application and just modify the resources included in the package. And that's wrong, because each project contains some unique identifiers that identify the MSIX that gets installed on the machine. So when you duplicate it, then you'll end up with conflicts between the setup packages that you generate with those projects. For that scenario, we've included the option to save a project as template. So in File, Save menu, you have Save as a standard file, or save as template. And that's the option that we recommend you to use when you have multiple applications that share a very high percentage of the project configuration, as you don't want to copy paste those projects. Another question from Sam: is it possible to create our own digital certificate? Yes, but a digital certificate that you create on your own has limitations. So that's called a self-signed certificate. You have a simple button in Advanced Installer in digital signature page. So let me show you one here. It's this button here that says just create, and it will allow you to specify the name of your certificate, where do you want to save it, and it will just create the certificate for you in a few seconds. But this is a certificate that's trusted only by my machine. You can export this certificate from the certificate store and then import it on other machine inside your network. For example, this is how we used a local certificate used only by employees from the Cafe company. So we use that for internal web apps and stuff like that. And we know that certificate is managed internally by us. We didn't have to purchase a certificate for that outside. You can do the same with a code signing certificate, for example, that you use to sign MSIX packages and just deploy those packages internally. But if you use such a certificate to sign an MSIX package and deploy it and publish it online, when users will start to install the application, the certificate will not be recognized because it's not signed by a trusted root. That's why you need to have a certificate issued by a certified vendor, because all of these certified vendors are included in the OS image of Windows and are recognized as official trusted roots for generated certificates. I don't see any other questions. You're welcome, Stefan. That's it for today, folks. So thank you very much for joining us. Keep an eye out for our future improvements around digital signing, and check your expire date on your current certificates. Don't leave this for the last week, because it might take you a little bit longer to adopt, and there are some minor headaches around this if you don't have experience with digital signing. So at least 1 or 2 months in advance, start preparing to renew your certificate and evaluate your options. So have a good day, and stay in tune for our next webinar and updates in Advanced Installer.